How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Talking Wolves. Hope you guys are keeping well and safe. And just 2 matches left now of the season. It's Wolves' final away game of the campaign tomorrow against Everton. I'm going to be giving my thoughts ahead of the game, of course, the team news as well, and we will get the Everton perspective later on in the video as well. As always, be sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. But yeah, a tricky game coming up against Everton, a team who towards probably, you would say, the first half of the season were looking really, really good, looking certainly a team that were going to be in and amongst the top six and possibly get European football, but it looks like they're going to have to win their final 2 games to ensure that in any capacity, really. They did beat Wolves earlier on in the season again at Molineux, and Wolves, again, just not hitting any good run of form. We've done enough to get by this season, but not really done enough at all to threaten the top 7, top 8 teams, but done enough, like I say, just to sort of get by and not really ever be dragged into a relegation battle. So it's been a bit of an off season for Wolves in comparison to the sort of 3 seasons Nuno has had previously. I think him and Fosun have set themselves such a high standard now of being able to sort of grind out these results and get top league positions, because let's face it, this year has been the poorest season for Wolves fans under Nuno. First season in the Championship, we walked the league. The next 2 years, the fact that we finished 7th in both seasons was phenomenal, really. And this year's been a bit of a downer, really. But hopefully we can put that past us. Hopefully we can back Nuno in the summer. Hopefully these injury issues are behind us and we can focus on a top campaign next year. But the game against Tottenham on Sunday, it did feel like a bit of a non-event for Wolves fans, and you could tell the players almost felt like that as well. We made it a little bit too easy for Spurs to get those 2 goals. To be fair, we had our own opportunities. Adama looked really threatening throughout, creating a couple of opportunities for Fabio Silva as well, who just couldn't get his shooting boots on Sunday. And on a different day, if we started testing Lloris that little bit more, we could have. I feel we could have possibly got something out of that game, but it was a defeat for Wolves, and no, we want to try and bounce back against Everton, who at the moment just can't really hit any sort of consistency or any sort of form. They in terms of defeats at home, it's been a record-breaking one here. I've got one of the stats. Everton have already equalled their club's top flight record of 9 home defeats in a season. That's their most since 93-94. So it's been a little bit of a downer for Everton. And if they do beat us, though, it'll be the first time they've got a league double over us for 45 years. So, it's a team historically Wolves have done okay against Everton. However, at Goodison Park, our only victory in our last 10 visits there was the game when we beat them in the Premier League back in February 2019. I think Dunker and Jimenez scored in that game to win. Was it 2-1? But in terms of team news, I've mentioned him there, Raul Jimenez. Although there were reports yesterday from the Telegraph, the ever reliable John Percy saying it's extremely unlikely that we're going to see Raul Jimenez before the end of the season, Nuno has still not ruled it out in today's press conference. Of course, the tests are today, and once again, we may have some news on that this evening because the team are leaving to go up to Liverpool this evening. It'll be interesting to see if, of course, Jimenez is involved in that. But Nuno has still not really given much away on that and not completely ruled it out. So I've still got an inkling that if it's not tomorrow, Jimenez will be involved in some capacity on Sunday against Manchester United. But we'll, of course, keep our eye on that. Daniel Podence has had surgery on his groin, I believe, so he won't be in action until next season now, unfortunately. Marçal, of course, I think he was involved on the bench, wasn't he, on Sunday. Nuno, again, just not rushing into getting him back into the team. I think they just want to make sure, they don't rush into anything and get him injured again. Possibly, I don't know. Possibly with a view to looking to move him on in the summer. And Willy Bolly as well. Nuno has said he is a lot better now, but of course, they've still got to be cautious of his situation. So, there's still faces there available available to possibly come into the squad, and a couple of the youngsters that were involved over the last few weeks. Of course, a big chunk of them played for the 23s yesterday. Unfortunately, lost out in their playoff game against Crystal Palace. With the likes of Corbianu won't be involved tomorrow, and a couple of the young players that have been on the bench in previous weeks will not be involved in any sort of capacity, really. But we'll move on now to the Everton perspective. We've got Max Carlyle. He gave us his thoughts on the fixture earlier on in the season, and here he is now, a couple of months down the line, giving his thoughts on Everton and the fixture ahead.
Hello guys, very nice to be back on the Talking Wolves show following Dave's request. And if I remember correctly, a Wolves fan after my last appearance labelled me as, I believe it was, neurotic, which if you do some digging you'll find is quite a common trait amongst Evertonians. I'll try to be a bit more upbeat this time, but given performances it's not likely. The first question asked to me by Dave is that it's been a fairly solid season for Everton. No, it hasn't, mate. Can you summarise it so far? Are fans disappointed that you could miss out on European football? Yeah, most definitely. You go back to the early months of this season, we were top of the league at one point, always in and around the Champions League places. The likes of Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, Liverpool even, firmly behind us, and now look at us, we're in 8th. Europe doesn't even look likely now, especially after our recent 1-0 defeat at home to an already relegated Sheffield United side, thanks to a goal scored by a 17-year-old on his Premier League debut. Sums up life as an Evertonian in a nutshell. Number 2. Who have been Everton's star players this season, and who should Wolves be worried about? Star players this season, you've just got to say Calvert-Lewin, given how marketed his improvements have been. In such a short space of time, he's gone from being a under-23s player to having a heap of responsibility on his shoulders under the likes of Sam Allardyce and the Marco Silva era, to now really coming into his own under Carlo Ancelotti. Not been firing them in at the same conversion rate as of late, but still got to mention him. Ben Godfrey is another one, come in from Norwich, played across the entire back line in both back threes and back fours. Plays with the type of desire and passion that Evertonians expect from the lads wearing the blue shirt. In regards to current form, I'd probably have to say Alan. So many players are out of form at the minute, but Alan looks to have put his injury problems behind him and is delivering some considerably good performances in the middle of the park. Not a goal threat, by the way, so I don't think you'll have to be worried in that regard, but just very sort of steely in the centre of the park, and you'd like to think that given this is one of the first games back with crowds, that a few other players would pick up as well. Question number 3. Any Wolves players that worry you? Neto was injured, by the way. Had a few people mention him. Yeah, I like Neto. Pedro Neto, I believe that is, and I think he's a solid player. Wolves have got a handful of great players that are currently out. I think Daniel Podence is out as well, who are rated quite highly. Again, I said this last time, I'm not sure if he's injured. I don't think he played last game for Wolves, but Ruben Neves, what a player. Like, ever since he was at Porto, I've just loved him. Absolutely loved him. He's everything that you want in a centre midfield player. Maybe could do with a bit more pace, but when you can strike a ball like that, who needs pace? Like, I remember last time flagging him, just saying how much I loved him, and he goes and scores an absolute worldie against Everton again. I know Everton won that game 2-1. But Ruben Neves, someone that's been under the radar, I feel, for Wolves. Morgan Gibbs-White. I watched a bit of him when he was at Swansea. Looks a good player. And no wonder Wolves have pulled him back. Called him back. I think he's going to go on to have a decent career. Question number 3 asked to me by... Question number 4, sorry. Predicted lineup and score. Well... But the worrying thing is, mate, that the last game, that game against Sheffield United, where we were beat 1-0 at home, bar maybe Yerry Mina in for Mason Holgate. I love Mason Holgate, by the way. A lot of Everton fans sort of scapegoat him for the mistakes that he made recently in particular, which, yeah, of course, deserve to be called out, but I do think he's going to go on to be a really good player. Like, you just look at John Stones and what he's managed to achieve at Manchester City. Not putting Holgate on the same pedestal, but I'm going off on a tangent here, sorry. But that game against Sheffield United, that was pretty much our best starting 11. Like James, DCL, Richarlison, Alan, Decore, Digne, all off. Alan a little bit better than the others, but all of them just look off the pace. As I said earlier, first game back in a while with crowd, so you'd like to think that they'll pick up and put in a performance that'll do them proud, but it's not looking likely. Europe seems off the cards, so what's the motivation? There isn't any. Maybe that's me holding Everton to too high a standards, but it's just the way I view it. Sorry to end on a neurotic note, but thanks for having me on, guys. Just worth saying that I really do like Wolves. Really well run club, and I think a couple of years you'll get yourself back up there. Take care, everyone.
Well, big thanks once again to Max. I'll leave his links in the description down below if you want to go and check his content out. But predicted lineup again, I felt, it's again, like I said in the last video, it's very hard to predict a lineup this year full stop. In previous seasons, you could have asked me this question and I would have been able to name it for you. But it sounds like Willian Jose isn't going to be signed by Wolves. That was released in an article by The Athletic this morning by Tim Spears, that Willian Jose isn't going to be signed from Wolves. So I don't think there's any real use in his starting him. So I think Fabio Silva once again to start. And the 4-2-3-1 I am liking the look of a lot more. I think Adama's got to be involved in there. I think Morgan Gibbs-White deserves to be involved. I think Vitinha deserves to be involved again. He's blown... I'm not going to say hot and cold because I think he's not been dreadful in some of these games. I think he still needs to show that a little bit more, Vitinha. I think his best performance in recent weeks was that game against West Bromwich Albion, but I'm really liking the look of Morgan Gibbs-White now. He's getting more football, more confidence. I think he's looking really, really good. I would personally reintroduce Neves. If Otasowie is back available, I'd slot him in there as well. Matinho and Dendoncker just didn't quite do it for me on Sunday. And again, it'll be interesting to see what happens, probably most in particular with Matinho come the summer, really. But if Otasowie's fit, I'd start Otasowie and Neves. And then the back four for me, I'd reintroduce Ait-Nouri. I'd bring Semedo in on the right-hand side. And I think it's going to be Cody. And I'd probably put Max Kilman next to him if he's available, and then Rui Patricio once again in goal. But it's going to be a really interesting summer for Wolves. This lineup could completely change from next season, and of course we'll keep you up to date on that. We're going to do a couple of videos next week as well, just regarding the situation. We'll do an end of season podcast after the United game, and then we'll bring back one of our series that have been quite popular over the last 3 or 4 years, where we sort of rank these, the players and what we would do with them in the summer. So that'll be a really interesting watch as well. But guys, let me know your thoughts and predictions ahead of this game against Everton. Going to be a tough one, but definitely a game that I believe can be winnable for Wolverhampton Wanderers, and hopefully finish the season away from home on a high, and hopefully go to Molineux with our morale and heads held high, and maybe give Manchester United a game on Sunday. But as always, guys, be sure to hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and until next time, I'll see you all very, very soon.